Michelle Alexander's groundbreaking book, The New Jim Crow: Mass Incarceration in the Age of Colorblindness, 2010. It's one of the most important works of 21st century scholarship on race, law, and systemic oppression. Mass incarceration functions as a racial caste system, one that replaced Jim Crow laws by targeting Black people through the war on drugs and a discriminatory criminal justice system. Michelle Alexander argues that the U.S. criminal justice system is not just flawed or unfair. It has been deliberately used to control Black communities in much the same way slavery and Jim Crow segregation once did. She says, quote, "We have not ended racial caste in America. We have merely redesigned it," end quote. She explains how mass incarceration exploded starting in the 1980s with the Reagan-era war on drugs. She shows how prison population grew from 300,000 in the 1970s to over 2 million by the 2000s. She emphasizes that drug use rates are similar across races, but Black and Latino communities are policed and prosecuted more aggressively. Convictions for drug offenses are the single most important cause of the explosion in incarceration rates. She says, virtually no one ever goes to trial. Nearly all criminal cases are resolved through plea bargains. She shows how prosecutors have enormous power in deciding who gets charged and how harshly. She highlights racial bias in jury selection, sentencing, and plea deals. She describes how mandatory minimum sentences and three strikes laws disproportionately affect Black defendants. She focuses on what happens after someone is released from prison, denied housing, denied employment, denied food stamps, denied the right to vote. These civil penalties create a permanent second-class status similar to Jim Crow laws, which limited rights even after slavery ended. She says, the very rights supposedly won in the civil rights movement are being systematically rolled back. She makes a direct comparison between mass incarceration and the old Jim Crow system. While Jim Crow was explicit in its racism, the new system is colorblind on the surface, but racially targeted in effect. She argues that society accepts mass incarceration because it cloaks itself in legal and race-neutral language, even while devastating communities of color. Stats and facts from the book. There are over 2 million people incarcerated in the U.S., the highest in the world. 1 in 3 Black men born today can expect to be incarcerated at some point. Black men are more likely to go to prison than to college in many U.S. cities. Drug use rates are roughly equal among whites and Blacks, yet Black people are almost 6 times more likely to be in prison for drug offenses. Michelle Alexander says, "We have not ended racial caste in America. We have merely redesigned it." FBA News and Updates.